All right. Hello, everyone. This is
Hello.
Lisa and Mika, and we are super excited to be with you tonight. So, as you know, Mika and I are hosting a 1 year course. Yes, we said 1 year. It is a course focused on thought and behavior change, and it focuses on mindful inclusiveness. And so each month we focus on a specific topic of mindfulness. And so this month we have been talking about mindful messaging. So Mika and I would like to kind of take 30 minutes to talk a little bit about the topic, give you our thoughts. But as always, with mindfulness, what we believe in is we believe in centering and also intentional activities to make sure that we are present and conscious. And so at this time, I'm going to flip it over to Mika. And Mika, you're the boss.
All right. Thank you for that. Hello. So, our first mindfulness exercise is going to be an exercise called breathing space. And so, if you get comfortable where you are, I don't know if you can see that image off to the side. All right. And this is a breathing space exercise that you can use anytime, anywhere to regain calm, clarity, and confidence. And so to begin, you just get still wherever you are. You can be upright, laying down. Choose that posture and just get as comfortable as possible. Bring your awareness to whatever is going on for you right now. Give the weight of your body up to gravity and allow your weight to sink into the points of contact between yourself and the surface where you're sitting. Give your attention to the sensations that you're feeling right now. Can you name them? And where are they? And if you notice any tension or resistance toward painful or unpleasant sensations, gently give your attention to them. Sometimes we move away from discomfort, but we also need to accept them as best as we can. And so if you begin to tense around your breath, with each exhale, just try to release that tension a little bit more. Soften your body with gravity, noticing any feelings or emotions as they arise. And can you let them come and go? Include everything within your awareness with a kind perspective and allow your awareness to gather around the experience of the deep breath in your body. So take a deep breath, a deep inhale, and a long exhale. Feel the different sensations from your breath, from the motion of your breathing. And use your breath to anchor your awareness in the present moment, breathing in your body, noticing each inhale and exhale, giving your attention to that breath. And if you notice that your mind wanders, it's okay. It's normal. It happens. So gently bring your awareness back to your breathing. Give yourself that kindness. And if you notice any pain or discomfort, hopefully those exhales have helped you to release it. But always being curious and kind as to what is going on and kind to yourself to be able to accept it and let it go if you need to. So use the breath as an anchor to stay present in the moment, inhaling and exhaling. And as we come to the end of this breathing space exercise, my curious question to you is, where did you feel any tension and were you able to let it go?
Thank you so much, Mika. And I keep saying, I need a Mika Mitchell app. I need a Mika Mitchell app so I can listen to it in the morning, in the afternoon, throughout my day, just to keep myself just centered. I'm telling you, we all need a Mika Mitchell app running us through some mindfulness activities. So, Mika, today we're going to be talking about mindful messaging. And so, out of curiosity, how would you define mindful messaging?
Mindful messaging, it really is about being present in the moment and being true to who you are. And because when you're true to who you are, then that is what is seen and perceived by others. So it's not that you have to yell out and say, "This is who I am and this is what I'm about." If you're really intentional about that, it it just is you. People will be like, "Oh yeah, that absolutely is that." Maybe they've never said that, but that's who that person is. And when we think about mindful messaging, knowing who we are starts with our core values, and really being convincing ourselves of who we are and who we say we are, but it's rooted in our core values and our knowledge of that.
Awesome. So, out of curiosity, what are your core values, and tell us a little bit about how you selected them or where you're at in the process if you haven't yet.
So I have a long list of my core values, but I will probably just share two for the sake of time. But where it started, I had a great friend ask me that question: what are your core values? And I know who I am, like, oh, who are you and what are you about? But really to sit with that and know that who I say I am, I have to be okay with that in the good and the bad. And to me, that's how I really have settled on those core values of, okay, when things are going really well, can I, and I think that's probably the hardest. Well, the hardest part is when things are not going well. But when things are well, you're like, oh yeah, I'm all the things and I can do all these things. But when things are not going well, and it could be something, in your personal life, in your work life, interpersonal, intrapersonal, when the going gets going, um, are those core values still exhibited in your life and how you function and the decisions that you make? And so being mindful, being a mindful practitioner, and taking that on personally, it allows a lot of time for reflection. And so that has helped me to be convinced that, you know what, these core values is really who I am. And I don't want anybody to feel like, well, I feel like this is my core value, but at my worst I'm not doing that. But that's part of this journey, where we give the awareness to it, we acknowledge it, and know that we're a work in progress. So some of these things, maybe at when I'm upset, it's not evident, but I'm working on it. So I think that's part of it too. So kind of who you are, what makes you who you are, and then really some of your core values might be a stretch for you too. And so the two that I'll share is that curiosity. And if you listen to my mindfulness exercises, I always have a curious question. And in class, if I'm an educator, I'm always like, okay, I'm going to ask questions so I can get to really know, get more understanding. And then my other core value is love. And that is something that I think we grow in, and ever evolving. And when you're not there, even at your not best, you're still working toward it. So that's kind of the process of how I got there.
Awesome. And so, if any of our listeners are watching and interested and like, you know what, I think I know what my core values are, but I'm not really sure. So I do want to tell you. So there's a gentleman, James Clear. So if you go to his website, it's James, James, clear, CLEAR.com, / core values, and he'll give you a list of core values, right? So if you're like, I'm just having a hard time finding the words, you can actually take that core value list. And I was trying to think of which book had me go through this activity, because I would love to give them credit for it, but I can't think of what it is, y'all.
So many
Um,
books you read.
but what they said was take that core values list and mark off all the ones that don't speak to you, right? So if you got a core values list and it's got 50 words on it, mark off all the ones that don't speak to you, right? That's pretty easy for us to be like, nope, not that one, not that one, not that one. Then out of the ones that you have left, narrow it down to about half of that list, right? And only give yourself like 2 or 3 minutes. And the reason why you only got to give yourself 2 or 3 minutes, because if you take longer than that, you're going to start picking stuff that's based on people pleasing. So take that list, 2 to 3 minutes, break it down to 50%. Then you're going to repeat that. And you're going to keep repeating that until you get to somewhere between 5 to 10 words. And then when you look up those words, if you want to think about it from a mindful messaging standpoint, is look at those words you selected and think about how you interact with people throughout the day. And if those words are authentic to who you are. And in that case, then you can say, those are my core values, right? And then shout it from the rooftop. Now, there are going to be times that you're going to see words on that list that may be words that you are aspiring to be. And that's okay too. For you to have a list of core values that you're like, okay, these are true to who I am right now in this season of life. But then I might have 2 or 3 other words that are your words that you're aspiring for. So, like for me, my core values are exploration, equity, faith, grace, impact, and ojima. And one of the things that you might think about doing is taking your core values and putting them in words so that they are your mission. So, like for me, I will say to people, I explore equity through faith and grace for ojima and impact. And the impact that I'm looking at is changing Black health and wellness, right? And so the nice thing about doing that exercise with your core values and then turning it into your mission is then every day when you wake up, you can ask yourself, how am I going to live out this mission today? Because in essence, it's how are you going to live out your core values? Now, the other thing to think about is your messaging. And so Mika kind of talked about how that your messaging is about authenticity. And I totally agree with her, right? So there shouldn't be a misalignment between the message you're putting off to people and who you think you are. The other part of messaging is thinking about who you want to engage. How do you want to engage them? And can you anticipate how they're going to process all the different forms of communication that you're putting off? Because messaging's not just about your verbal.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, when you think about your mindful messaging, it's the words that you say, it's your body language. It's also what's known as paraverbal, right? So the speed at which you say something, the tone in which you use, right? So people are picking up on all those things. And one of the things that we really like talking about in this topic of mindful messaging is, y'all, the literature suggests that almost 90, maybe even upwards to 93% of what you say is nonverbal and paraverbal. But we so focused on the words, but it really is all the other stuff. And so, Mika, when you think about those 3 types of communication or messaging, verbal, paraverbal, nonverbal, what's your thoughts? Like, which do you feel like is your dominant? Which you feel like might be the area where you have the most growth and you like, ooh, I'm still a work in progress, y'all.
That is great points. I'm gonna give a shout out to my mom because I remember growing up, I heard a lot of "fix your face," and so that awareness of that nonverbal um, communication, and I believe, and this is a personal opinion, I haven't checked this with anybody recently, and masks, I don't know if they've helped this or not, but I do believe that I have made strides in not always, which, like you said, I am a work in progress, to just not have that RBF or really try not to lead it all on my face. There are times where I will, and when you see the expression, just know a lot of times that's intentional, because I know the value of the words. Or if I can't say the words, and you'll be like, oh, my kids know that look, when you're like, not in the mood. And so I feel like I have some work, but I have made improvements on that. And then just being mindful, in reflection, being aware of my words. I'm a Black woman in America. I have to be careful. Sometimes your words are misconstrued or taken out of context, or just possibly used against you. And so I am aware of the things that I say as well. So I think there's a lot of intention around verbal, nonverbal, paraverbal. I do know when I do mindfulness exercises, that paraverbal, I do have to slow myself down, in order to deliver the exercises in a way that helps to center around the topic and the the content. So those are some things of consideration that I am fully aware of. And so if you're like, fix your face, I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm tired. I'm really tired and I can't. So I won't. Or you'll be like, are you excited? Can you tell? So yeah.
I just like to fix your face. I'm just like, I'm just gonna let that keep scrolling for
I
like
keep
the whole
seeing it. I'm
show.
about to send this link to my mom. You made the reel.
Because I think for a lot of us, we don't realize the message that we're putting off sometime, right? And so you may be saying all of the words, but
Mm-hmm.
your body language is totally saying something different, or your body is going, mm-mm, that's some BS. That person's lying.
Yeah, and so with that, on the personal side, like on the other side of that, I try to encourage my children to say, guess what? It doesn't matter what somebody else's face looks like. Don't let that deter you, because there are times, like you said, people don't necessarily know how their paraverbal is being received, and they're the sweetest, nicest people. It's just, that's just how this looks. And took intention or not to make any adjustments. And so there, I love the person that I'm like, I really can't tell what's going on based on your paraverbal. So what was that core value? What am I about to do? I'm about to lean in and say, tell me more. Hey, how are you? Engage and be okay with, then once you have that interaction, you could decide, okay, that lines up. Or you know what? That person is really like, what do you mean? I don't know. I chop it up with them all the time.
I love how you just reminded us how to be inclusive, right? And so, because we don't often realize what our nonverbal and paraverbals are saying. Some researchers even say that nonverbal can't be controlled as much as we think it can, that your body will give some type of clue that says, mm-mm, and that people are very sensitive and pick up on that. And so, therefore, you got to be curious to ask some questions to see if that is truly what that person is trying to put off. And I find that to be really true in regards to diversity and inclusion, conversations and efforts, right? Because people are still trying to find their words in this space.
Mm-hmm.
Some people haven't had as much practice as others because of social constructs. And so they're kind of fumbling in regards to like these intercultural interactions. And I think sometimes it may be a microaggression, but some of that is also just because that person is practicing. And we have to take, if we truly want to interact with that other human, we got to be willing to say, hey, this is how this just impacted me. Was that your intent? Right? Because intent and impact are very different things. And so having that curiosity to make sure that the messaging that someone's giving, even during these difficult and safe conversations and brave conversations, we just have to check it. We really have to check it because people are using words that they've never used before in their life.
Yeah. Oh, I will check because there's words I haven't used, and I would be very clear. Did I use that right? Please tell me, because I'm not trying to mess it up. No, not trying to cause harm. And
Yeah.
that happens. That's part of this process of life. We will
Yes.
make mistakes.
And words are about agreement. And so, even though I might be using that word and based on my culture or my lived experience, I'm thinking, okay, this is how we define this thing. And then I use it with somebody else and they're like, that just triggered me. But we're not going to know
Mm-hmm.
unless you have a conversation.
And share.
Now, as we think about mindful messaging, though, that does not give people the right to tell you who you can't be, right?
Absolutely.
By trying to colonize or dominate how someone talks or how they maybe authentically message them, how they may authentically deliver a message about themselves,
Mm-hmm.
or you're trying to make their messaging conform to a particular identity or a particular definition of professionalism. That's not what we're saying here. um because mindful messaging, as you so beautifully opened up with, is should be authentic. That person should be
Mm-hmm.
able to say what they need to say in a way that aligns with who they are. But if we're trying to engage with people, we might massage it a little bit, but you should never have to be fake. You shouldn't have to be fake. And I think that's
Absolutely.
when you see them nonverbals. When people have that mask on.
Yes, yes. And there's growth in that, For some of it is survival and some of it is trying to figure it out. But I think at the end of the day, that authenticity and allowing people to be, like that's, hey, if the RBF is you, then fine. Like, no, we're not saying you have to change it, but just know that how it might be perceived by other people. So when they do engage, you engage, right? Um, so yeah, I think that's important.
Yeah, that's a cute man. That's a cute man right there, y'all. Bringing food.
We appreciate you.
That's a fabulous man. So, Mika, as we get ready to close up talking about mindful messaging, um, what are some things that you would want people to remember? So, what's the three things you want them to remember?
Three things. I think that time for reflection to know self. I feel like I say that a lot in different spaces to different people, but really at its core, if you don't know who you are, if you don't know what you want, if you don't know who you want to be known as, I read a book and now I feel like you, Lisa. I'm like, wait, what book was that? But it said, on your deathbed, what would you be mad about that you didn't do, or that, what would you want said about you during your eulogy? And that in its, that's like, whoa, it's not about these trivial things. It's really about the core of the existence of who you are. And I think knowing yourself, and being kind to yourself is part of that messaging too, because you may mess it up. You may not be, and do as you desire all the time, but being kind. And I think you say this well about this playground to try, creating groups and, community, if it's your family, your friend groups, to say, you know what, I'm trying these things out. I'm doing something different and new. If I mess up, please check me in love, right? That's probably the best way, at least for me. Like, you could check me, but where does this come from? So, yeah, I think those things are important. And that community, that support, I think there's not enough, credit given to what that can do to uplift. And so we do have mindful collaboration we will talk about at some point, but I think really valuing community.
Whoops, so sorry. So I was trying to throw out your 3 points to people. So the first one was know self. The second one was be kind to yourself. And then the third one is create communities of practice. And try to create communities of practice with people that are slightly different than you, right? So that way you are able to test out words and ways in which to express yourself authentically, that will still allow for inclusive engagement.
Absolutely.
Because if you're trying to engage with other humans and find out about other humans, then you want to be able to be yourself, but be yourself in such a way that keeps them engaged. Now, if you just want to tell people off, then you ain't got to be mindful about your
All you
messaging.
have to do is get on the internet.
Just message. Just message.
It's just right messaging, no mindfulness about it.
So yeah. So Dr. Mo was on. Yes, Dr. Mo, we got some food. Kip Van Hoos came through with the food. She said good
Yes.
evening. So she said good evening to you,
Hello.
Mika.
Hello.
But as we get ready to close out, Mika, we're looking forward to your next mindfulness activity. And we're actually going to do a bonus podcast next week. We've got to figure out the schedule, but we're going to bring on a third person and we're going to talk about mindful resilience. And we're going to talk about some of this foolishness that y'all doing with this word resilience and how y'all are
Yeah.
weaponizing the word resilient.
It's
And so we
not,
just gonna stop that colonization in its tracks. Just
not a fan. Not a fan of it being mandatory. You will be resilient.
yes. So we're gonna talk about resilience. We're gonna talk about really what was the origin of the word and what was the intent of it, and how now we are using it in such a way maybe to judge people and put people into boxes that they don't need to be in. So, but that is coming up next week.
We hope
Uh,
next week, right? I love how you bring us to this agreement and words and definitions to really sit and think about the origin, like where words started, where what it means, and giving credit that words mean different things in different spaces and to different people. And that's where I think the conversation should always start. What does that mean? And then what does that mean to you? Um,
yes. Ooh,
so
that
yes,
was good, Mika. Cause right, cause there's always an origin, and sometimes the origin may have been just with the dominant culture, but then over time words evolve. And I think we, just like anything else we do, we need to check in and go, is that really what we mean for that to mean?
and there's
Because
a whole lot of
sometimes
words
there's
that
drift. Yeah.
we don't really know what they like. Do you know what that means?
Girl,
Yeah,
yes.
no, that's when you get checked by your community practice. Yeah, we're not using that one anymore.
Right, right. Because there are several words, y'all, that we're not using no more.
We're not
We're
using.
gonna we're gonna do a whole podcast talking about
We don't
some
talk
of these
about dot dot dot.
some of these DEI words. You just gotta let them go.
Have a
I
few
think you
more.
better let them go.
Okay, we hear
Let
you.
it go. Anyway, that's all I got. That's all I got. All right, Mika,
We are here for a song now.
it is on you to take us through our next mindfulness activity.
All right. Well, thank you for joining. And this is a mindfulness exercise called Completely Convinced. And this exercise is about being completely convinced about who we are as individuals and in our communication. And so, as we begin, take a deep cleansing breath with a long inhale to fill your lungs and a long exhale to empty your lungs. And relax your eyes. You can close them or gaze in the distance. And when you do this, allow yourself to feel a wave of relaxation. And we're going to give attention to our upper body. Focus on the sensation at the top of your head. And just notice how that feels. And let your focus move down to your eyes And as you notice how that feels, allow them to relax even more. Feel your calm, even if you notice rapid eye movements, because that's normal. And notice how the back of your head feels. And when you breathe in, imagine being filled with calmness. And when you breathe out, imagine your body feels heavy and deeply relaxed. And notice what you hear around you, giving attention to your ears and how they feel. Give attention to your state of calmness. Focus on your mouth and how that feels. Moving your attention down your neck. And as you focus on your shoulders, giving your attention to your arms all the way down to your fingertips, do you feel any tension there? Are you able to relax with each exhale? And as you give your attention to your chest, notice where you might be holding any tension and allow it to release with each exhale. And I want to share with you some important considerations to build your ability to improve your mindful communication as you're in the state of relaxation. If you want to have healthy relationships and feel that you have effectively communicated with others, it's important to first care about yourself. Then you can do that for others. And because to authentically care for others, you have to see your shared humanity. And so as you think about the ways you communicate, if you lose focus or other thoughts arise, that's normal and that's okay. You bring your attention to your breath for an inhale and an exhale, and then you bring your attention back to the ways that you communicate. I want you to think about your verbal communication. Are you a person of many words or an individual with few words that you use? And there's no right or wrong, no good or bad, it's just what it is. And then give attention to your nonverbal communication. Does your face say it all? Or does your body language give you away? And that could be positive or negative or both. And there's no judgment because it is, and that's okay. And now think about your paraverbal communication. Does your pitch, your tone, your pace change based on who you're communicating with or the intensity of that communication? And consider where you can be more consistent with your communication to increase your inclusiveness, to improve your mindful messaging. Because when you think of someone you enjoy being around, think about how that verbal, nonverbal, and paraverbal communication is. And take a deep breath. And when you're around someone that you might have a difference with, think about that. Or someone you have a negative history with. Think about those interactions. What has your communication been like in those situations? Would you say it's the same verbal, nonverbal, paraverbal communication that you have with those that you enjoy being around? And take a deep breath and release that image. And so I challenge you to continue to value the human that is in front of you And if it starts in the mirror, then it leads to the individuals, other people that you'll be interacting with. And effective messaging is healthy and is very important in romantic relationships, but even so, and probably just as important in your day to day interactions with everyone that you meet. If you desire to communicate well with others, you have to put in the work necessary to do so. And so, as we come to the end of this mindfulness exercise, my curious question for you is, do you display confident communication with individuals from different elements of diversity than your identifiers? So, thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Mika. I'm like, Mika, you need an app.
You're manifesting that, and I feel like we're on the cusp of the.
I am manifesting. I'm like, before 2022 ends, Mika's gonna have an app. And for $4.99, I'm gonna listen to it every day. I'm gonna pay the $4.99 a month. So, and Dr. Mo just was like, "Yep, she need an app." The people have spoken. Bring forth the app. Tiffany Adams just said you need an app.
Hi.
So yes, and I also want to show you our guest that is here in my room.
Can we talk about nonverbal?
Yeah, like, I look a mess after driving.
Hello, Maria. How are you? Welcome to the studio.
Yeah, last 3 minutes.
Yes, that is
so
awesome.
For those of y'all that are wondering, you're like, how is Maria and Lisa in the same space? So Maria and I had signed up to do what's called 26.2 and 24. Tiffany Adams says hello.
Hello.
And so we were going to do this marathon over a day. Basically, it was like 4 miles kind of broken up over 6 times throughout a 24-hour period. But then due to low enrollment or registration, they canceled it. But Maria was like, I'm coming down anyway. So Maria and I are orchestrating our own marathon this weekend.
I love it.
And because we are here for the foolishness, we're going to put out a challenge to the rest of y'all over the weekend to get in your 26.2. And so tomorrow,
let's not get carried away. Oh, yeah. But okay.
Come on, Mika. So tomorrow we're going to be dropping it on social media, how to participate, what are the time points, how to document, send a picture through social media of you moving with the goal of 26 miles of movement over the weekend. And y'all can do this. We can
partner with like 5 other people so we could like do collectively.
If you want to do a team marathon, you can. Dr. Mo said she's in. She's like, I'm game. I'm game.
Me and Zena, we gonna walk it out.
Right?
There you go.
You can put your Fitbit on Zena and just let her go. Just put it on Zena and let her go. So yes. So just know tomorrow you're gonna be seeing some things in social media. Tiffany Adams said, Mika, we running in this 95-degree temperature.
She's gonna be dragging me. That's gonna be the video on social media.
Well, I don't know what the temperature's supposed to be here. We might.
Tiffany and I are about to have a Lisa and Maria moment tomorrow.
Yes, because you can get creative. So, like for us, we're gonna do a 5 a.m. We're gonna do a 9 a.m. But then when it get hot, because Louisiana is
go sit down somewhere.
Sometimes synonymous with hell. So when it get really hot here, we're going to come indoors and do like a 4 mile with a guided video. So get creative, but figure out how you can get 26.2 miles in over the weekend, because if Lisa can do it, y'all can do it. Now, Maria been running for a minute. Maria, you have a personal goal. What's your personal goal that you're doing right
Not now? This.
Not a marathon.
It's a 5K every month of this year.
God bless y'all.
This month, because I was trying to keep up with her, I'm doing 26.2.
We're doing 26.2. Mo says she gonna do hers on her Peloton. That's now nice. Mo is big balling. Now Maria's finna go to my house and she's gonna see that I don't have a Peloton, but I got a
Sorry.
bike on the stand.
We're here for it. That's inclusion. We got all variations of bicycles.
Yep.
Yes. Okay, and Maria, okay. Dr. Mo says she's gonna get Alex to do it. So be prepared.
Okay.
Who you gonna call in? Who you gonna call in? Don't call them out. Who you gonna call in?
Yes, call in. Yes.
Yes.
And be okay if they say no, I'm not running 26. But I'm telling y'all right now, don't be calling me in. I'm not running 26. I'm gonna do what I can though.
You got
You got friends. Get 6 friends. Each of them do 4 miles.
I know some runners, not me though.
There you go.
And we are true to that core value. Mika don't run no more.
Then y'all put a little picture together.
Well, you can walk too. Again, we got to be inclusive.
Yes,
You can
absolutely.
roll. You can crawl. You can do whatever.
Yeah. Because I'm here to tell you, at that 1 a.m.
movement.
That last 1 a.m. interval, I'm gonna be dragging.
We got a 1 a.m. interval too?
Oh yeah. Yeah. You see Maria's face was like, I didn't know that.
No, I'm good at 1 a.m. It might
I'm verbal like
5 a.m.
I need the whole picture laid out.
Well, y'all have a good night. And thank y'all so much for joining us for Mindful Messaging. Bye, Dr. Tiffany. We love you too. Dr. Mo, have a good night. And everybody else, we'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
Bye.